3 men died because one man signed a piece of paper, one piece of paper that said the mine was safe. It wasn't safe. Everybody knew it wasn't safe. And when nobody did anything about it, I did. You can call me a murderer, but those 3 widows, they call me the only man who gave a damn. My name is Donald Ray Simmons. I'm 81 years old. Been in this place 19 years now. Sentence was 15, but they keep me because, and I quote, I show lack of remorse. The state of West Virginia says I committed second-degree murder. That's what the paper says. That's the language they use. I say I held a man accountable for killing 3 of my friends, and I'd use that language till the day I die. I was a coal miner, 34 years underground. Ridgemont Coal Company up in McDowell County. Started when I was 19. Married my Ruth when I was 22. She waited tables at Peggy's Diner on Route 52. Had hands that smelled like coffee grounds and pie crust. We had a daughter, Marie, and a son, David. Good kids. Ruth raised them right while I was a quarter mile under a mountain. Now let me tell you something about coal mining that people on the outside don't understand. When you go into a mountain every morning, you trust the men around you with your life. That ain't a figure of speech. That is a fact. The mountain don't care about you. The mountain is rock and gas and pressure and dark. And the only thing between you and that mountain is the man standing next to you and the man standing next to him. Ray Holcomb was my partner for 11 years. Big man, hands like shovels. He'd bring his wife's biscuits every Monday and leave one on my lunch pail. Never said a word about it, just left it there. 11 years of Monday biscuits. Tommy Weaver, he was younger, 38. His boy had just made the football team at the high school, and Tommy wouldn't shut up about it. I mean that kindly. He was proud, the way a father gets when his kid does something and the kid don't even know it matters. And Eddie Crow. Eddie sang. Always sang. Old gospel stuff. Wayfaring Stranger. Songs like that. You could hear him 2 tunnels over, his voice bouncing off the walls. The mountain swallowed everything, but it couldn't swallow Eddie's voice. Now. The mine had been having problems for over a year. Cracks in the ceiling supports, water seeping where it shouldn't seep. You work underground long enough, you learn to read the mountain talks to you. She groans before she moves. She sweats before she breaks. And she was groaning. I filed a safety report, then another, then another. 6 times I went to the union. 6 times I sat in that office and told them, the southeast shaft is going to come down. You know what they said? We'll look into it. 6 times, same words. Then MSHA came in. The federal people, safety inspectors, they walked around the mine for 2 days with clipboards and hard hats that still had the price tag shine on them. And you know what they found? No irregularities. That's the word they use. Yeah, irregularities. Like the mountain was doing something rude at a dinner party. The man responsible for those inspections, the man who signed the report saying every beam was solid, every tunnel was sound, every inch of that mine was up to code, was Carl Hensley, shift supervisor. He sat in an office at the top of the hill while we crawled through tunnels at the bottom of it. Carl signed those papers because replacing supports cost money, reinforcing the southeast shaft cost money, shutting down for repairs cost money, and the Ridgemont Coal Company didn't like spending money on men they could replace. On a Tuesday morning in October 14th, 2003, Ray, Tommy, and Eddie went into the southeast shaft. The ceiling came down at 11:42 a.m. 40 feet of rock just fell. Like the mountain finally said what she'd been trying to say for a year. I heard it from 2 tunnels over, felt it first. The ground shook, then the sound, not a crash. A sound like the earth coughing, deep, wet. I ran, we all ran, dug with our hands, bare hands. My fingernails were gone by the time they pulled me back. But you can't move 40 feet of mountain with your hands. You can't do it. They pulled the bodies out 3 days later. Ray was still holding his lunch pail. I don't know why that detail stays with me, but it does. He was still holding it. And Carl Hensley, he went home that Tuesday night, ate dinner with his family, slept in his own bed. The company paid a fine, $187,000, split between the federal government and the state. You know what that comes to? $62,333 per dead man. That's what Ray and Tommy and Eddie were worth to the Ridgemont Coal Company. Less than a new truck. And the families? Tommy's boy, who just made the football team. Ray's wife, who baked biscuits every Monday. Eddie's daughter, who was starting college in the fall. Nothing. Nothing adequate. Nothing that would make a difference. Legal fees ate what little the company offered. I reckon there's a point where a man stops believing the system is slow and starts understanding the system don't care. I reached that point the day Carl Hensley showed up to work the Monday after the funeral. Same office, same desk, same pen he used to sign those reports, and I stopped waiting. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me be clear about something. I didn't do this in a rage. I didn't do it that week. I didn't do it that month. I waited 4 months. 4 months I sat with it. 4 months I went to work in that same mine, a mine that still had cracks they hadn't fixed. 4 months I drove past Carl Hensley's truck in the parking lot every morning. And every morning I thought about Ray's lunch pail and Tommy's boy standing on the field without his daddy in the bleachers, and the sound Eddie used to make 2 tunnels over that nobody would ever hear again. People ask me, did I think about it? Did I consider it? Yes. Every day for 122 days, I considered it. I thought about not doing it. I thought about my Ruth, my Marie, my David. I thought about what it would cost me. You understand. I knew the price. I calculated it. A man who works underground his whole life knows how to measure weight and distance and consequence. I measured all of it. And I decided 3 dead men weighed more than one man's freedom. February 6th, 2004. It was cold. The kind of cold where the mountain looks blue. There was frost on the windshield of my truck, and I sat there and I scraped it off with a credit card because I couldn't find the scraper. Funny what you remember, the credit card, the sound it made on the glass. I drove to Carl Hensley's house. It was just after dark. He was walking from his truck to his front door, carrying groceries. I could see the yellow light from the kitchen window behind him. I got out of my truck. He turned around. He saw me. And he knew. I had my deer rifle, same one my daddy gave me when I was 14. I raised it, and I pulled the trigger. Once. He fell in his driveway. The groceries went everywhere. I remember a can of corn rolling down the pavement. I stood there. I didn't run, didn't hide. I set the rifle down on the hood of my truck, and I sat on the bumper, and I waited for somebody to call the police. Took about 12 minutes. I counted. You know what's something? The same system that couldn't find a single irregularity in that mine, couldn't find one crack, one faulty beam, one unsafe tunnel. That same system found me guilty in 3 days. 3 days. Fastest trial McDowell County had seen in a decade. The system works real well when it wants to. I got 15 years. 2nd-degree murder. My lawyer said I was lucky. Lucky. Carl Hensley, if they'd ever charged him, which they didn't, which they never would have, the maximum sentence for criminally negligent homicide in West Virginia is 1 to 10 years per count. But nobody was counting. Nobody ever counted. So let me do the arithmetic for you because I've had 19 years to do it in my head. 3 men dead. 1 man responsible. 0 days served. 1 man held him accountable. 19 years and counting. I got more time for stopping the killing than he would have gotten for doing it. But I'm getting ahead. No, I'm not. That is the point. Ruth came every Sunday for the first 5 years. Rain, snow, didn't matter. 2-hour drive from McDowell County. She'd bring me cornbread wrapped in foil because she knew the bread in here tastes like the box it comes in. Then her hip went bad. Then the car broke down, and we couldn't afford to fix it. Then the drives got longer because she was slower, and the roads don't get better. They just get older like everything else, she writes. Every week, her handwriting is getting shakier, but she still writes. Marie, my daughter, she came once in 19 years. Sat across that table and cried the whole time. Couldn't look at me, not because she thinks I was wrong, because she thinks I threw myself away. That's her word. Threw. She don't understand. Some things ain't throwing away. Some things are paying up. My son David won't come at all. He was 28 when I came in here. He's 47 now. Got kids I've never met. He told Ruth, didn't tell me, told Ruth that he can't explain to his children why Grandpa is in prison. I reckon I understand that. Don't make it hurt less. But I understand it. And Ray's wife, Helen. You know what she did? She sent me a letter after the trial. One sentence. Thank you, Donald. I keep it in my Bible. The paper's so thin now you can see through it. I've held it so many times. The ink is almost gone, but I can still read it. Thank you, Donald. One sentence that weighs more than every verdict in every courthouse in West Virginia. Tommy's boy made varsity that year, quarterback. I heard from somebody who heard from somebody. He scored 3 touchdowns in the homecoming game, and afterwards he sat in his truck in the parking lot and cried because his daddy wasn't there to see it. Carl Hensley took that from him, not me, Carl Hensley. And Eddie's daughter, she dropped out of college, couldn't afford it without her daddy's paycheck. She's a nurse now up in Charleston. She turned out all right, but she had to fight for it. Fight for something that should have been easy. You want to hear something that'll make your stomach turn? The Ridgemont Coal Company closed that mine in 2009, sold the land to a development company, made $2.3 million. The families of those 3 dead men saw nothing, not a cent. The company that killed them profited from the ground that buried them. You tell me who the criminal is. I think about Carl Hensley, not every day anymore, but I think about him. I don't feel good about what I did. I want you to understand that. I don't sit in this cell and smile about it. A man died because of me. He had a wife. He had a life. I took that. But I think about paper and I think about rock. Carl Hensley signed a piece of paper, and 3 men were crushed by rock. Paper is supposed to be weaker than rock, but in this world, the man with the paper walks free, and the men under the rock stay buried, and nobody answers for it. Nobody. If I could go back to February 6, 2004, if I could stand in that cold with the frost on the windshield and the credit card in my hand, I would drive the same road, park in the same spot, and do the same thing. Not because it felt right, because everything else felt worse. Now let me ask you something, and I want you to think before you answer. If 3 of your people, not strangers, your people, the men you trusted with your life every single morning, if they died because one man wanted to save his company a few $1,000s and the government looked the other way and the families got nothing, and the man responsible drove his truck to work the next Monday like nothing happened, what would you have done? Because I know what you want to say, and I know what you'd actually do, and those 2 things might not be the same. I'm 81 years old. My knees are bad. My hands shake. I can't grip a pickaxe anymore, and I couldn't find a coal seam if you put me in front of one, but I can still hear Eddie singing 2 tunnels over, bouncing off the walls. I just wish the mountain had been kinder to him, that's all.